Hey everyone, let's talk about some ways that we can help kids rethink their cognitive distortions. As a reminder, cognitive distortions are negative thought patterns. Number 1, I blame myself, also known as personalization. So this thinking style involves taking things personally or blaming yourself for things that is largely out of your control. One way that we can help to reframe this thought is to remind yourself that there are lots of other reasons why things happen. In the best way, the world does not revolve around you, meaning that it's very rare that something is entirely your fault. Or there are also some factors that maybe we're just not looking at that could also be influencing what just happened. For example, maybe you opened the cupboard and a bag of potato chips fell out of the cupboard and spilled everywhere. We might look at that, and although we want to blame ourselves, there's a lot of other things that went into that. For example, maybe the bag of potato chips wasn't closed up correctly, or maybe it was just thrown in the cupboard. So when you open the cupboard, it just fell out, and you just happened to be the one that opened it. The second cognitive distortion is all or nothing thinking, also known as black and white thinking. With all or nothing thinking, you view things in extremes. Things are always good or bad, right or wrong. This is also called black and white thinking because you think in terms of opposites. We can reframe this by reminding yourself that rarely are things in life black and white, always or never. There is so much gray in between things, even if sometimes it's hard to see, or sometimes you're getting really stuck on what could have been, should have been, or was. The third cognitive distortion is negativity glasses, or having a mental filter. When you put on dark glasses, it makes the whole world look darker. The problem is, when you make it a habit to focus on what's not going well, negativity grows and grows until it's all that you can see. One way to reframe this is when you catch yourself looking at the bad, make an effort to notice the good instead. I promise it's there, and it might feel really weird at first, but it is going to be there, and eventually it's going to become easier and easier to actually see the good and not just go straight to the negative. Give it a chance, you might surprise yourself. And if you're doing this with your kids might surprise you or themselves. The fourth cognitive distortion that we're going to talk about is shoulds and musts, or it can also be referred to as perfection or bust. This style of thinking involves holding yourself or others to unrealistic standards, which sets you up to feel like a failure or to blame others. We can reframe this by remembering that effort matters more than the outcome. Looking at mistakes as learning opportunities to help you grow your skills and abilities, rather than being really negative on yourself for failing or feeling like you didn't get it correct, when maybe it's the first time you're even doing it, or the second, and you're still learning about how to do it. It doesn't always have to be perfect, even though sometimes we feel like it should. The fifth cognitive distortion is jumping to conclusions, or a false failure. When you jump to conclusions, you make guesses about what someone else might be thinking, or you make predictions about what might happen in the future. The problem with this thinking style is that people often assume incorrectly. Here are some ways to reframe this. We want to remind ourselves that there is no way you can know for sure what is going to happen in the future. And there is no way that we know what's going on in someone else's head, unless you ask them. It's also impossible to predict the future. You can only hope for the best and do your part to make the outcome a reality. By teaching children and teaching ourselves how to recognize unhelpful thinking thoughts and patterns and replacing them with more balanced ones, we can give our kids and ourselves the tools that we need to confidently and successfully overcome the many obstacles that life throws our way.